we have learned about the difference between arguments and non-arguments, we need to look more closely at what arguments are. There are two broad categories, deductive and inductive arguments. What is the difference? Deductive arguments claim it is impossible for the conclusion to be false if the premises are actually true. These are said to be valid or invalid. All valid deductive arguments are necessarily true. Inductive arguments, on the other hand, claim it is improbable that the conclusion be false if the premises are actually true. These are evaluated as strong or weak. Strong inductive arguments are probably true. There are 5 deductive arguments: 3 syllogisms, hypothetical, categorical, and disjunctive, as well as arguments based on mathematics and arguments based on definition. Here are some examples. This is a hypothetical syllogism. It has 3 conditional statements and 3 separate terms, A, B, and C. The terms can be substituted for word phrases. If it rains, then the grass will grow. If the grass will grow, then I'll have to mow. If it rains, then I'll have to mow. A categorical syllogism likewise has 3 statements, 2 premises and a conclusion, and 3 terms, A, B, and C. The middle term is B and is repeated twice. There are 4 types of categorical statements. 2 of them are universal. They are called the A statement and the E statement. One is positive, all A are B, and the other is negative, no A are B. The other type of categorical statement is a particular statement, and it likewise is either positive or negative. The positive particular is called an I statement, some A are B. The negative particular statement is called O, some A are not B. Thus there are 4 possible choices of statement in premise 1, either A, E, I, or O. Likewise for premise 2 and the conclusion, and this gives a total of 64 syllogisms. There are ways to evaluate syllogisms. This is just a prelude for what is to come. One of the ways is called a Venn diagram, which you see here, where the premises are diagrammed but the conclusion is not. If the argument is valid, the diagram will show that the conclusion is contained in the premises. There is also a method by rules, whereby if any one of the rules are broken, the syllogism is invalid. The third syllogism is disjunctive syllogism. There are 2 categories, A and B. You deny one and then claim the second in the conclusion. Either you go left or right. You do not go right, therefore you go left. The other deductive argument is based on mathematics. If the mathematics is done correctly, it is a valid deductive argument, otherwise invalid. Here's an example of a deductive argument based on definition. All bachelors are unmarried men. David is a bachelor. Therefore, David is an unmarried man. What are inductive arguments? These are the arguments that are probably true. There are 6 of them. Predictions, argument from analogy, inductive generalizations, argument from authority, arguments based on sign, and causal inferences. Let us look more closely. Here's an example of a prediction into the future. Reserves of coal in the United States have an energy equivalent 33 times that of oil and natural gas. On a worldwide basis, the multiple is about 10. By shifting to a coal-based economy, we could satisfy our energy requirements for at least a century, probably longer. This may be a strong or weak argument. You evaluate. Arguments from analogy make comparisons between two situations. In this case, we're looking at encyclopedias. The Encyclopedia Britannica has an article on symbiosis. The Encyclopedia Americana, like the Britannica, is an excellent reference work. Therefore, the Americana is probably also an article on symbiosis. An inductive generalization makes a claim about the whole group based on a statistical sample. 3,000 of 5,000 people polled in our electoral district said they would vote Democratic in the next election. Therefore, it is likely that the incoming election, the representative will be Democratic. Here's an argument from authority. World-renowned physicist Stephen Hawking says that the condition of the universe at the instant of the Big Bang was more highly ordered than it is today. In view of Hawking's stature in the scientific community, we should conclude that this description of the universe is correct. Notice it has to be a strong authority in order for it to be a strong argument. An argument based on signs. Here is an example. The sign on the Leaning Tower of Pisa says that Galileo performed experiments here. We must conclude that he did indeed perform experiments from atop the Leaning Tower of Pisa. Would you expect to find graffiti on a World Heritage Site? Not likely. Therefore, this sign is likely going to be true. Causal inference is an argument when made from a cause and an effect. Here's an example. When the Romans occupied England, coal was burned. Since coal produces quite a bit of soot and sulfur dioxide, there must have been days almost 2,000 years ago when the air in larger towns was badly polluted. This concludes the lecture on deductive and inductive arguments.